Hi, and welcome back to Beans and Bezels. If you're looking at this watch and thinking that it looks a lot like the Reise Resolute that I reviewed a few months ago, you're not wrong. Reise recently rebranded and now go by the name of RZE, and they sent me their latest prototype to check out, the RZE Endeavour. The Endeavour follows the Resolute's design very closely, with the addition of a dive bezel and their latest metal bracelet. As with the Resolute, the Endeavour is very competitively priced and is scheduled to sell for $369 via pre-order and an eventual retail price of $459, both on the metal bracelet. Given how successful the Resolute's Kickstarter was, and based on all the positive feedback I've seen from those who've received their watches already, I think RZE is on track to becoming one of the most successful micro brands out there. Let's check it out. I measured the case to be 39.7mm in diameter, 46.2mm from lug to lug, and 12.5mm tall. The case is made entirely of titanium and has their Ultra Hex coating, which gives it a Vickers rating of around 1200 HV, and has the same case design as the Resolute. The finishing on the case is excellent, and I continue to be impressed by its design and execution. The sharp and angular lugs look great and really drive home the military and tactical tool watch aesthetic that they were going for. The lug width is 20mm and the lugs are drilled through. You then have a single piece titanium bezel with black painted bezel markers and a Lume triangular bezel element at the 12 o'clock. The bezel grip is great and there's no back play whatsoever. The actual bezel action feels a bit more scratchy than clicky, making it feel like a 240 click bezel instead of a 120 click bezel. There is a signed crown at the 3 o'clock position that is easy to grip and operate. The crown action is good and there's no crown or stem wobble. The finishing on the crown is just as impressive as the rest of the case, and this crown does screw down. Flipping it over, you have a solid screw-down case back that is simple and lacking any fancy engravings or an exhibition window, perfect for a serious tool watch. This watch is rated for up to 300 meters of water resistance. The dial is very similar to the Resolute, with a few subtle changes that I'll mention. The base of the dial has the same media blasted and painted texture. This is the blue dial variant, but there are other exciting colors in the series too. There is an outer minute track that has printed white ticks, but instead of Arabic numerals for each increment of 5, there is a combination of rectangles and circular markers, and a triangle marker at the 12 o'clock position. You then have applied stainless steel indices for all the hour markers, and instead of double batons at the 12 o'clock, you now have a single large baton. The 4 main axes have dual section indices filled with different color looms. The brand's new logo is printed below the 12 o'clock index, and the printing quality is quite good. The handset is identical to the Resolute and is well proportioned, well finished and generously filled with lume. Overall, the design and finishing of the dial is very good. I think given the very close design to the Resolute, current Resolute owners might find it difficult to justify adding the Endeavour to their collection, but for a first-time customer, the Endeavour is a great choice. The lume design and performance follows the Resolute very closely since the dials are very similar. I love the use of bicolor lume, and I think it works great here. All the lumed elements glow bright and have very good longevity. The outer hour marker elements are slightly quicker to fade than the rest, but that is to be expected given how large the indices are versus these markers. The hands are also generously lumed, seconds hand included. No complaints from here whatsoever. I believe this bracelet came into existence as a stretch goal on the Resolute's Kickstarter campaign, and I didn't get a chance to review it with the Resolute. It's a great addition to both watches and matches the overall angular design aesthetic very well. The links are well machined and have the same Ultra Hex coating as the rest of the watch. The links are screw based and are very easy to size. The bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs to 16mm near the clasp, so it does get pretty narrow. I personally prefer a taper to 18mm, but I think most others will disagree. The clasp is perfectly color matched to the rest of the titanium bracelet, but this is actually stainless steel instead. The clasp is pressed but has milled inner assembly pieces with 4 micro adjustment slots. I can't really ask for more from this bracelet for the money. This watch uses a Seiko NH35A movement, so no date complication or a ghost date position. For the price and given the utilitarian and functional watch aesthetic, I think this is a good choice as it is cheap, easy to service and quite reliable. On my time grapher, I observed roughly plus 12 seconds per day in the dial up position and plus 12 seconds per day in the crown up position, so all good numbers. This watch sits perfectly within my case dimension sweet spot, coming in at around 39.7mm in diameter and 46.2mm from lug to lug. The bracelet end links articulate great, so the 46.2mm lug to lug is very accurate. The height of 12.5mm could have been maybe 1mm slimmer, but I suspect that the Seiko movement makes this difficult. 12.5mm isn't bad at all, so this isn't really a complaint. It's got a great tool watch wrist presence and reminds me of my Zin Easy M3F. I really like it on my wrist, and I think they have another winner here. If you've got a Resolute, I don't think you should jump at this watch, as there may be too much of a design overlap. But if you passed on the Resolute because maybe you don't like field watches and prefer divers instead, then this is the watch that you've been waiting for. It has the same serious tool watch vibe of the Resolute while expanding its capabilities with the diving bezel and a nice new bracelet. RZE is a brand that I have a high opinion of, and one that I wish to see venture into the higher end of affordable micro brands too. Their case build quality and design are beyond what others in this price range are offering, and maybe with a slightly higher price tag, they can experiment with slimmer movements and more creative dials. But back to this watch, this is one of the good ones. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to read my other reviews in the link below.